The early settlers of Australia mistook a similar call for the maniacal laughter of an unknown being. But it is actually the territorial call of one of the most prolific of bird species in the world, the white collared kingfisher. Most precious things require protection, and the thick mangrove foliage of Khor Kalba in the United Arab Emirates provides excellent cover for this jewel, the Khor Kalba kingfisher, a subspecies of the mangrove kingfisher. Kingfishers are found on all 5 continents of the world, and the mangrove kingfisher has over 50 subspecies. Kingfishers are one of the most spectacular groups of birds in the world, and come in a huge variety of colors and sizes. Even with all their diversity, all kingfishers retain similar characteristics: a compact body with small legs and feet, topped with a large head and an oversized dagger-like bill. Kingfishers have excellent hearing and superb eyesight. There are at least 90 species of kingfishers in the world, occupying diverse habitats such as rivers, deserts, rainforests, woodlands, and of course, mangroves. They are known to take prey by diving or snatching it in flight. Once caught, the prey is held in a vice-like grip, manipulated, and swallowed whole. In direct sunlight, a gleaming turquoise green, the white-collared kingfisher is 9 to 10 inches in length, with a white band or collar around its neck from which it derives its name. The white-collared kingfisher belongs to the genus Halcyon. Both sexes are alike in their appearance, and because of this, they are referred to as a confusion species. It's the breeding season, and the pair will not tolerate any intrusion by another kingfisher. Displaying with half-open wings and aggressive chattering, the intruder is confronted and then driven out from their territory. During courtship, the female invites copulation by uttering a soft and distinctive call. Having mated a number of times over the last 4 days, the male flies off to the nest hole from where it calls out to the female, encouraging her to lay the first egg. Flying back to the mating perch, the male mounts by grasping the forehead feathers of the female while beating his wings to maintain balance. The pair will continue to mate till the female lays the first egg. Kingfishers spend hours in secretive perching, from where they try to sight prey by continuously bobbing and shifting their necks. Except for a few, most kingfishers are insectivores, including the white collared kingfisher, which eats insects, crustaceans, and occasionally fish. Most of the prey is still or slow moving and is relatively large compared to the bird's body size. Prey is grabbed in the bill and then taken to the perch, where it is battered on either side till its legs, wings, or claws fall off. Once beaten to death, it is manipulated and then swallowed head first. Kingfishers regularly regurgitate. All bony and indigestible prey residue is orally ejected in the form of compact pellets. In Kalba, crabs constitute a major part of the kingfisher's diet, and mangroves are a haven for them. Crabs are curious creatures, and their sheer variety is staggering. The claw-waving fiddler crabs, which wave out to each other with their single oversized claws in a territorial dispute, then engage in an arm-wrestling battle. These common local red-legged crabs, found at the water's edge, use their claws to shovel organic matter into their mouths. Crabs have 5 pairs of appendages and use the rear 4 to walk or move sideways. This violet crab regularly clears its hole in order to create enough space for an air pocket, in which it spends time when the tide comes in. Holes and burrows are the only protection that the crabs have, but the larger crabs attract young boys who, in their pursuit of crabs, are totally unaware of the birds nearby. Human disturbance of mangroves is a worldwide problem, not only to the nesting kingfishers, but to all other species that make mangroves their home. Khor Kalba is a mangrove lagoon on the border of the United Arab Emirates and Oman. Even though the mangroves are over 8 meters tall and are among the oldest in the Arabian Peninsula, they provide few holes and hollows which are large enough to be used as nests by the kingfishers. A tidal inlet running parallel to the Arabian coast for 5 kilometers Its three main channels are lined with extensive mangroves. A mixture of sea and fresh water is the reason for the healthy growth of these mangroves. The Hajar Mountains on the western side provide the fresh water, while the in-between plains are lined with the acacia trees and shrubs. Khor Kalba is the only place in the entire Arabian Peninsula where two important species of birds breed. The booted warbler, which has a nesting population of approximately 20 pairs, and the fewer than 50 pairs of the white collared kingfisher. It's the first week of July, and the female is ready to lay the first egg. The nest, as in the case of most halcyon kingfishers, is a natural hole in a tree. Eggs are laid in the morning. 2 hours later, the female leaves, having laid the first egg. The eager male flies into the nest and leaves after a brief inspection. Kingfishers regularly take a dip or bath in order to get rid of debris which adheres to the feathers during the nest visits. Jumping or gliding from a short perch 1 to 2 feet high, they dip 3 to 4 times in shallow water. Flying off to a nearby perch, the bird will start to preen. A preening session can last over 20 minutes, during which the kingfisher will zip through the individual feathers, applying oil from the preen gland. Preening helps the feathers to remain in perfect condition. Their importance cannot be underestimated, as they are the means of flight of all birds. Preening also serves as a form of relaxation. Preening sessions end with the stretching of the wings, which helps to settle the feathers back in the right position. A bout of preening is always followed by a meal. Next morning, the female lays the second egg. The average egg size is 24 to 30 millimeters in diameter and is spotless white. White-collared kingfishers lay a clutch of 2 to 3 eggs, but in Kalba the average is 2 eggs. This call signifies that the pair has established an excellent and well-regulated rhythm of incubation and nest relief, which will be maintained throughout the incubation period of 22 days. Incubation duties are equally shared, and the male does not feed the female during this period. Incubation and nest relief duties last for an hour to an hour and a half. During this rest break, the off-duty partner will take a dip and have a meal but will never leave the immediate vicinity of the nest area, keeping a careful eye out for any intruders from the sentinel perch. Territories are approximately 50 to 60 meters apart, and rigid territoriality is strictly maintained during the breeding season. High-pitched calls also serve to reinforce and maintain the ownership of a territory. To a large extent, the tide dictates how these kingfishers feed. When the tide is in, they hunt or catch locusts, but when it's out, they catch crabs, crustaceans, and fish. The white-collared kingfishers have distinct perches for each activity, and this perch is clearly marked by the repeated hammering of prey, while the perch near the nest serves as a platform for nest exchange. As with all kingfishers, the fourth toe of the white-collared kingfisher is joined to the third for more than half its length. Light plays an important part in its beauty. Its colors are practically indistinguishable in poor light, or when wet, the bird even appears black and white. Various perches have a particular purpose. The bathing perch serves as a springboard from which the kingfisher launches itself, performing a belly flop that immediately pulls itself out before it can become waterlogged. Due to the reflection of light on its feathers, the rich green of its wings and tail are only visible in good light or when it stretches. Both partners regularly call out to each other when they're ready to switch places, from resting to incubation. If the incubating partner does not respond to the call, the mate will repeatedly fly to the nest opening to urge the other to leave. These kingfishers are extremely wary, and the mangrove foliage further helps to camouflage them. Though the pair are active up to an hour after sunset, it's the female that takes over the incubation at night, while the male will roost on the sentinel perch nearby. Over 50 different bird species can be found at various times of the year at Kalba, and the mangroves frequently resound with a cacophony of songs and calls. Rollers, cuckoos, stilts, terns, plovers, redshanks, and warblers all find sanctuary in the mangroves, but the resident white-collared kingfisher overshadows them all with its distinctive call and dazzling beauty. It's 24 days since the first egg was laid. Though the pair have stopped incubating, they continue to aggressively defend their territory with intense calls and frequent aerial pursuits that end only when the intruder is chased out. Normally, the incubation period lasts for 22 days. But since the eggs didn't hatch, the pair stopped incubation. The only possible explanation for abandoning the incubation could be the flooding of the nest. The watermark on the nesting tree is the only indicator that this may have happened. Flooding of the nest must have led to the disastrous consequence of frozen eggs, and due to this sad occurrence, the pair stopped incubation. Very little in nature occurs without a purpose. The act of courtship feeding develops and strengthens the bond between the pair. The male has caught a fish and uses its neck muscles effectively to hammer the fish to death. He then passes the prey to the female head first. Although kingfishers are known to raise more than a single brood during a breeding season, it's both reassuring and surprising that this pair is about to repeat the entire failed cycle of breeding just 4 days after their nest was flooded. It's 45 days since the nest was flooded. The pair has now gone through another breeding cycle of mating, egg-laying, and incubation using a different nest hole. Fortunately, this nest entrance remained above the high tide mark. The two kingfisher chicks are fairly grown up. The lower lip of this hole is marked with white excretia, as the chicks have been defecating toward the nest entrance. As with incubation, the parents jointly take care of the young, feeding the chicks with small prey such as worms, larvae, and insects. As night approaches, the parents are frenetic, and in a short span of 1 hour, they visit the nest 8 times with food. This also proves the remarkable hunting prowess of these kingfishers. The chicks fledge after 21 days in the nest, and though they are born naked and blind, they are now miniature copies of their parents, except for the brownish-green color, smaller beaks and tail. Both chicks fledged the same day, never returning to the nest again. The parents will continue to feed them for another week. Initially, the juveniles remain perched close to the ground, but as the days pass, they grow in size and confidence. In a short span of 15 days, the juvenile's color and behavior undergo dramatic changes. It soon moves up to the higher perches and now is a master of flight, a near replica of its parents. The Mangrove Kingfisher is the most widely distributed of all kingfishers in the world, extending from the coast of northeast Africa, through parts of the Arabian Peninsula, along the shoreline of India, to the islands of Southeast Asia and the Pacific to Australia. Mangroves are unique and fragile ecosystems which support a huge variety of wildlife. Mangroves all over the world are under threat from human intrusion, exploitation, and pollution. The mangrove forest at Khor Kalba is no exception. Its protection, as well as that of mangroves all over the world, will ensure the survival of thousands of known and unknown species that live and thrive there.